environmental group of the American Chemical Society, Pittsburgh local section, and sponsored by the Calgon Carbon Corporation, a global leader in the active carbon industry. I'm your host, Ron Honglin, member of the ACS Pittsburgh local section and chair of the environmental group. The environmental group is a topic group within the local section. We support various activities, including this monthly environmental lecture series to promote a deeper understanding of science, technology, and our environment. The lecture is being recorded and will be available online later. I'd like to remind everyone that the views and opinions expressed in this and any future lectures are solely those of the presenters and do not necessarily represent the views of the ACS Pittsburgh local section. Before introducing today's speaker, I'd like to make a quick announcement. Our next lecture will be on Thursday, November 7th, during the ACS Central Regional Meeting or the CIII meeting to be held here in Pittsburgh. The lecture will be part of the environmental group luncheon event featuring my colleague, Janelle Brewer, Senior Vice President of Calgon Carbon Corporation. Janelle will give a global and regional view of the PFAS landscape. Now, I'm very delighted to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Vania Zedler. Dr. Zedler is a full professor at the Institute of Sustainable Chemistry at Leuphana University in Germany. Her background is in green and sustainable analytical chemistry and green and sustainable chemistry education, with major interests in developing analytical methods that are insufficient to determine renewable and bioactive high-value organic substance extracted from agro-industrial residues. Professor Zedler was previously the founding director of the Field and Food Tech Hub at the Federal University of São Carlos in Brazil. Professor Zedler has received numerous awards and recognitions, including the 2014 IUPAC Cameron 7 Prize for Atmospheric and Green Chemistry. She was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry in 2015. She received the ACS CEI Award for incorporating sustainability into chemistry education. And she also Fellow of the Robert Bosch Foundation and Alexander von Humboldt Foundation at Leuphana, among others. Professor Zedler holds a PhD degree in organic chemistry from Johns Hopkins University. With that, please join me and welcome Dr. Zedler. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the lecture. All right, Professor Zedler, you can take over now, and I'll stop sharing.
Yes, first, thank you very much for your kind invitation, Dr. Honglin. It's a pleasure to be here with you all, and I will share my screen. Let's see, I think it's going to work. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Just a moment. Ta-da. Yes, so thank you for your kind introduction. So it's like a pleasure to share with you some experiences, especially related to something that I really love, that is to talk about sustainable chemistry, green chemistry, and sustainable food systems. And I hope in the end that I can show you how connected all these, let's say, fields are. So as mentioned, I have a background on chemistry and also on education. Why? Because I try to understand all the context in the sense of why to do a better chemistry, where to apply, for whom, and so all these W questions, I think, and the H also how it was a kind of list, and driving me to do another PhD on education. And it's a pleasure, as I mentioned, to be here with you and also in this section. Well, this is the proposed agenda to talk about some general foundations to understand our context. And what I really appreciate is to explain what we are doing regarding green and sustainable analytical chemistry and applied to sustainable food systems to create this, let's say, it's not only a hub, but a system. It's more than that. And to do such kind of, let's say, explanation, it's good to show some successful examples. And we have some coming not only from Brazil, but also from here, from Germany. And then I think it's important to consider some perspectives that can be also for the present and the future, that we have to be very optimistic, realistic and optimistic. But to be very frank, when we think about our context, we can see that we have interconnected crises. So at my university, I'm going to talk about my university, everything it's about sustainability. We can see that like climate change, it's a big issue to be faced, but also biodiversity loss or water scarcity. And of course, in our field, chemical waste we have to deal with. We have to avoid to produce some, and the ones that we can't avoid, we have to manage beforehand what to do with that. And nowadays, I just pass very quickly, but regarding climate change, in some places, also in Brazil, but in India, in many like countries, we can see that it's sometimes too hot really to handle. And in some occasions, I am always including some literature here. If you wish, you can go deeper to understand that, in fact, it's not only the temperature, but it's about the conditions. It's about a little mix of heat and humidity. When we have like a temperature above 35 degrees, even us fit people, we can like die, the extreme case, within 6 hours, because it's quite almost the same to have 5 degrees and at 50% of humidity, we would feel like 71 degrees, that it's too much. So, as I mentioned, you can go deeper to understand. And in fact, there are many reports, scientific papers, and also facts that we need to bring to do like we are doing now, that I'm very grateful to communicate better, because it's about also communication. But the problem is not only for human beings, like this super heat kind of problem. It's about to produce food, and the projections for the global crop productivity for the this, as I mentioned now, but for the near future, it's like we will have to face some changes in the sense of the yields. And here I have another 2 papers to explain the productivity series, especially related to maize in the tropics. And we can see the hotspots really that are darker here, and the yield change in the near future. So what we can see from this graphic, the global productivity will be like changing a lot in the near future, and the changes would make it more difficult to grow maize, for instance. I'm just considering maize because it's a really important product in the tropics, and the crop yields are projected to decline around 24%. That's a lot. And there is something that is not discussed, because we can't put a value like the economical value. It's about also other types of like ethical issues that we have to consider, because it's not about the monetary terms only. It's much more than that. We are talking about lives. And as I mentioned, communication, this is a kind of foundation also. And we know that there are many effects, and we need to better communicate. We have to dialogue, because in fact, we know that Earth is warming, and this is also or mainly due to our activities as human beings. And how to do it better? I think one way it's what we are doing now, is to open the discussion and to also publish the lectures in some social media to maybe express and to receive the feedback from many people from many sectors, because it's about that. It's about to be open for dialogues. And to do that, there are many interesting approaches. One that I would like to emphasize here is the systems thinking. I'm sure that you know the American Chemical Society, it's like emphasizing also this approach. And this is something to show the interdependence of components. And here you can see the relationship between the global flow of chemical species containing, in this case, reactive nitrogen and the key UN SDGs. So we can see that there are many interactions. Everything is connected when we are producing nitrogen, when we are using, and not only about fertilizers, but also here we are talking about food. So, and they are connected to this sustainable development goals like the zero hunger, that it's really an issue. But here, the most important message is to understand that we have integrated and holistic kind of understanding for our context, that everything is connected. And here it's another map to complicate. If you wish, you can also read this paper. It was published by a colleague and colleagues actually in Nature Sustainability. And we can see where we are using energy in this chain, and how and what kind of compounds we are generating, using, and many things that you can also consider in here about ammonia as refrigerant also. It's very interesting. If we really need that, it's a kind of survival thing in some places, as I mentioned. And there is another approach that I'd like to introduce to you. It's about regeneration or regenerative systems. We just published a paper together, together with colleagues. I published this to talk about mainstreaming regarding these dynamics for sustainability. So what is interesting, I think giving an example would be easier to explain, that many systems can be regenerated. And we have also the generative momentum here, as I am showing in this figure. But I think the best is to show you the example that is, for instance, an ecosystem, like a forest, after a major impact, as a wildfire. And then we can see that it's very complex, but we can promote regenerative dynamics, and we can also bring back or regenerate this space, and also considering the species diversity, once again, that we had many years ago, but will be again later on. But of course, we have to see that we need energy from the sun, and also appropriate nutrients and precipitation like water, and the source of seeds. At the beginning, we had to provide this kind of input, but in the end, of course, the idea is to maintain that the system can maintain itself. And such conditions, such climate or weather, can influence the speed, the duration, the direction, and nature of such dynamics to be degenerated or regenerative. And in the case of the forest that I'm showing here, we have periods, of course, of drought will favor a different set of species compared to other like wet weather. And here, it's not, that's important, it's not about biological resources or renewables, it's about many fields. And this regenerative system approach, it's interesting to be also considered in many areas. And here I am showing, for instance, psychology. So we can be regenerated when we are doing therapy, for instance. It's a way not the only one, but doing meditation. Or for agriculture, we have regenerative agriculture, agroforestry. So there are many ways to promote such kind of, let's say, approach. But in other areas that it's quite new, like management, economics, socio-ecological systems, or sociology. And here you can see from the, let's say, itself, considering also families. So we are growing, but and we can see that we have the global systems and also the total biosphere. So our idea here is to show that there is a multi-domain, it's a cross-scale interaction for sustainability transformations. This is our main topic. And this is the explanation for the graphic that we can see here. If you wish, please, you can access this paper. It was published very recently in Nature Sustainability. And then all together, of course, we are going to talk about green and sustainable chemistry. We know that green chemistry, it was, and it is a very important movement or philosophy starting in the 90s. And the idea was to rethink the materials, the processes, to generate less waste and to use less energy, and also to involve more or safer processes or conditions, not only for the workers, but also for the social environment. And what I would like to add, that sustainable chemistry, it's also a concept, of course, open concept. And sustainable chemistry, as we are using such concept, looks both at substances or products and also the flaws, the materials that are circulating. But really important, we are incorporating advances from other fields, like social science, like the work that we just published together with our ecologists or psychologists. So we are doing the work together because there is also a point that we need to include alternatives that are not connected to chemical processes, for instance. And then we have also other ways to think about a more sustainable option for the current products and services. So this is proposal, of course. If you'd like, you can read the papers that I published very recently. One, it was last year in Science in 2023, defining sustainable chemistry. And there is another one published in 2021 about the role of education, how we can create this like environment to dialogue about what is important for green and sustainable chemistry. But of course, we have many definitions that, yeah, they can be considered like academic philosophies. They are very important intellectual exercises, but like circular chemistry and so on. But what I'd like to emphasize is that all of these approaches or philosophies or movements are aiming at the design and use of healthier, fairer, safer, and more benign products and process. And we are all together. This is the main point, I think, to know that we are together, and it's about convergence. That should be our focus. Okay, this is the most important, I think, message here. And green and sustainable analytical chemistry, it's part of this movement also. And what we can say about green and analytical chemistry, when it was like discussed for the first time in the 90s, it was about strategies to make analytical methods greener. For instance, you know that it's about to reduce sample preparation, solvent, the amount of reagents or energy, and to minimize or to avoid as much as possible waste, and so on. But we have to preserve also the quality of such methods, like accuracy, sensitivity, selectivity, and precision. This is super important. And there are many books, many journals discussing green and also sustainable analytical chemistry. Here you can see also some publications. And of course, we can design completely new methods, or we can adapt. We can modify the ones that we have. So I think to do green and sustainable analytical chemistry, it's a matter to consider the problem, the context, of course, what to use, because there is no universal method to solve all the analytical problems. So we have to think properly about what to do. And here I would like to emphasize that in Brazil, in 2010, we wrote the first book that's also something for all countries. So of course, for like science, the language, the normal like language, it's English, but to give the access to all people in Brazil, we published this book in Portuguese. It was translated later on for, I think it's Spanish. And we received a national literary award in Brazil in that year. But it was very interesting to note how important it is to speak also the language of the local or the country. So both, we have publications in English and of course in the local language in Brazil, and this is something with foundations and with some applications related to Brazil. But here, returning to the point about green sustainable analytical chemistry, I think we know already that we have sample preparation, the analysis, and the possibilities here relate to real-time analysis or process analytical technologies like at-line, online, or in-line. But there is a but here. We know that 8% of the analysis time is spent usually on sample preparation, especially for like very complex samples. Like in my case, I'm working with biomass and waste. So you can imagine what kind of like complex samples we are dealing with. And then, of course, this is the most expensive, and it's also responsible for the major source of errors in several stages of this, let's say, sample preparation. And here, together with some colleagues, we published the 10 principles of green sample preparation. If you are interested, again, you can see the reference, and we have like some tips what to do. It's interesting to do the sample preparation in situ, if possible, to use also alternative, safer solvents and reagents and so on. But of course, it's not a must kind of checklist. We have to see what is possible to do, like for each case. It's like the principles of green chemistry. The best would be to try to find all like the 12 ones, but I think we have to be, or we have to embrace all possible principles or tips like here. Yeah, but you can have a look later on. And of course, talking about the techniques, we know that each technique has its own merits, and the choice depends on several factors like cost, simplicity, accessibility also, because sometimes we don't have the equipment there and we have to talk or to work together with another colleague, the amount of the extraction medium, and many other aspects. And then we have to think, okay, step back, and what is essential to decide what to do, what to separate in a very complex system. And then we know that separation, like extraction, it's a fundamental process for us or in our field, but also for chemical and food engineering. And we know that nearly all reactions generate products or residues, and we have to purify those like the extracts in the end when we are analyzing them. And this is not so easy. This is another part. So, but here I'm focusing on the sample preparation. And ideally, the best would be no sample preparation or separation. Of course, this is really difficult, but not only in the lab, but also in industrial scales. And this can be considered like a dream currently. In some cases, we can do it, of course. And you know that in recently, like in the last 10 years or even more, we had another concept really very important for green and sustainable chemistry, but especially sustainable analytical chemistry. It's like the biorefinery or smart biorefinery, and we can, or we should use also greener or more sustainable techniques. Okay, so we are combining all these new methods like biotechnology or process chemistry. And the idea for a biorefinery is to convert renewable, it should be like renewable biomass into valuable fuels and products. So this is the main idea, but also it can be energy, not only that. So here we have, you can see, I took this photo in Brazil. It's a sugarcane plant to produce sugar and the bioethanol. You can see the truck there, that's far away, but also some machines. So it's a huge amount of biomass. But to do this sustainable separation, we have to think about like eco-efficiency. We have to think about the transformation process, not only related to like techniques, but it's a new way to think like waste. Of course, we can valorize the waste, but sometimes, yeah, it's really important to consider alternative scenarios. So it's why I am trying to avoid the generation of waste. Here it's a huge, it's an incredible amount of biogas, but we have also for citrus. I am going to talk about this. But the point is not transfer the problem, waste, it could be e-waste, etc., to another, let's say, space. It can be a geographical area. It could be also the time, so for the future, for the next generation. So we have to be very careful about our waste, because it's a human construction. Actually, nature, it's not producing waste. Everything can be metabolized, but for like the synthetic, or most of the synthetic chemicals or waste, it's really difficult to find ways to incorporate everything in the next, let's say, chain. Then, yeah, I think it's very interesting to consider sustainable separation, or in the sense of vanguard biorefineries in some countries, like in the global south, even in the United States. I think it's very important here, also in Europe. But we need to consider not only, as I mentioned, the techniques or the materials involved, but also the non-material dimension, like how to create healthier jobs, how to contribute to construct a positive long-term sustainability agenda. Also take into account biocircular economy and social environmental justice. So for all people, not only for some people. And I'd like to say that we can circulate many things, but in some cases it's better to avoid to circulate some like toxic chemicals. And then we have to separate this chemical from the next, let's say, from the waste, the waste that can be valorized, but yeah, we have to avoid transfer to the next step, the toxic chemical. And then it's what I'd like to give you like as an idea. So sustainable separation, not only in the lab, but in larger scales, it's about to think about a tunable use of energy, time, because time it's not a renewable resource. Once it's gone, it's like lost. So we have to use properly our time. But devices, scale, yield, and the number of steps to extract, to fractionate, or to purify what we would like to. And then, as I mentioned, for green chemistry, green analytical chemistry, we have to ensure good quality or good methods to provide like reproducibility, efficiency, selectivity, and so on. But also for this concept, sustainable separation, it's about to create safer, healthier, and more efficient products, processes, and services. The molecules can also have a service, under fair conditions and commercially available at accessible and just prices to all people again. And there are many ideas about sufficiency and consistency. And in the past, a long time ago, I lived in a farm, and this idea of circular economy, it's there about closing loops, because we are transferring the waste, let's say, to another place or area. So we are producing food also when we have this type of fertilizer that we can produce internally. If you wish, you can also read this paper published in 2021 at the Pure and Applied Chemistry. It's about to separate or not to separate, what is necessary and enough for green and sustainable extraction of bioactive compounds. And what I'm doing, I am working with high value added, not only compounds, but approaches, and especially remove it from non-edible food waste. And we know that we have many possibilities with agro-industrial waste. And my main focus, it's about some bioactive compounds that can be used as medicine or nutraceuticals or biopesticides. And again, polyphenols, it's like what we are studying a lot. And the market, it's really, let's say, it's good, it's considerable by like not only 2025, but I think for the near future, it's really important. Also for the food sector. And here I'm showing you what we can see from the literature about the greener or the more sustainable techniques used to separate such natural products from waste. The first one, it's solvent processing, like we are using different solvents. The second, microwave. And the third one, ultrasound. And then we have some combinations also, but it's good to have this image. What is more used, or as I mentioned, a combination of such. If you wish, again, you can read the papers that we published. This was like a perspective to talk about circularity and eco-design and solution systems. And this is also a paper, I just showed the figure about the main techniques that are used to extract natural products from agro-industrial waste. And again, what we do with these like bioactive compounds, we are using greener or more sustainable methods, analytical methods, but also we are doing like some studies with pilots. And this was one in Brazil, in São Paulo state, like the Brazilian citrus waste. Oops. And here we can see others, like we are using microwave assisted extraction and other types to compare and to valorize not only citrus, but mango processing waste and many. And here is the, let's say, what we are doing with such flavonoids. We are transforming them into like valuable products like biopesticides. This is also a review, if you wish, it's really interesting. And also what we can do with like such high value compounds. We can also create more food. So, but you can also read these chapters or the book. It's published in English also. And there are many examples why we should or not use ionic liquids compared to bioethanol as a way to extract some compounds from fruit waste also. And here I would like to show you that we are using also alternative solvents like Siren. This work was done together with a colleague from York, Professor James Clark. I was like for 10 years a visiting professor there, and we used siren to extract hesperidine and rutin from some agro products. So you can also read if you wish, and we compared many, we used models to see the best approach to apply like greener methods to see what is better to extract such compounds like the flavonoids. And again, you can have a look on that. I think it's very beautiful. And we can see here the type of models we are using to see the extraction of hesperidine and rutin when we are using different mixture of solvents, especially using siren, that is a renewable solvent. And then we are going to, I'm just observing the time, to talk about how everything is connected to sustainable food systems, because actually the food system, it's a very complex, let's say, system. And the idea, according to the FAO, it's to provide food for all, and in a way that we can guarantee economical, social, and environment basis to generate such food security. And then, actually, we have to rethink our food systems because they need to be more sustainable. And especially when we have also in the so-called developed countries, actually, we have really people and they can't access good and healthier food. In some countries, like in Germany, there are many just they have access to like frozen pizzas, and this is not the best to have only this type of diet if you are not having access to fruits, to vegetables, and so on. So it's not about like the difference between the countries, but it's to say that, of course, there is this difference, but we have to include all people from all places to have access to more sustainable and resilient and also healthier diet. Yeah, but as I mentioned, this is very complex. And the idea is to show here where we are. And I think this is the sustainable food system, that it's also a social, cultural, and natural environment. So it's all together. And then I would like to show you the top 10 trends this year. And let's say one of the most important ones, it's about plant-based alternatives, but in some cases they are not better. If we are imitating like meat, or if we are adding 20 ingredients, and if they are not so healthy compared to, so it's really complicated. And then we have to have a careful look about the ingredients for us. It's like chemicals that we have in such formulations or ultra processed food. And as I mentioned about applications, I'm coming from São Paulo state. I was a professor for 15 years at the Federal University of São Carlos. And São Paulo, it's very known as the largest citrus producer in the country, but also in the world. It's really important. And it's funny, not funny, it's sad to see that 50% of one orange, it's after the process, it's like waste. And we have in Brazil 9.4 million tons per year of such, let's say, waste. It's a lot, and we can do a lot with that. We can extract limonene also from the waste, pectin, cellulose, flavonoids, sugars, and so on. And here I just mentioned the price, it's in euro, but you can imagine the liter of limonene, it's a lot. Pectin or hesperidine, I just mentioned that we published that paper with Siren. So 10 milligrams of pure hesperidine is really expensive. But we are doing that using greener or more sustainable techniques like microwaves. And in doing that, this is the pilot that we developed together with my colleagues in New York, which was a collaborative project. And we could see that we can combine the food industry, the food supply chain waste, and also the citrus peel biorefinery. Everything was connected. And with this method, we could see that microwave for like a biorefinery, it's really interesting. The one that we use it because it's possible to like use it as a flexible device and also technique. We can change the scale. We can also use a type of continuous processing. So there are many very good, let's say, advantage. Of course, it's consuming a lot of energy, but we could think about alternative ways to generate energy, like renewable energy, to like feed the microwave. So there are many things that we can do, but we could see that it worked very, very well. And for another, like that's part of the same citrus biorefinery, we could also create new materials. Sigma Aldrich, it's not a propaganda, but you can find the material that we produced, the product there. And we also tested this material based on pectin. Like here, you can see the PCB. It means it's something derived from pectin. And we compare to extract flavonoids to like the commercial solid phased columns. So, and then what we did, we could extract the flavonoids and we could also generate the biopesticides. And we have some patents on that, and we could test using the agroforestry as a system. And it would also be very nice to see how we can circulate the material as a product, a new product. Because if it's a agroforestry, we can use this type of biopesticides with flavonoids. And in fact, the citrus were stronger and they could resist better to the insects and plagues. So this is a real photo. I took this photo in a farm that is our partner. And as kindly mentioned, yes, I am the founding director of a hub that we have at my former university, Field and Food Tech Hub. And the idea is to combine many fields to create an ethical and healthy living promoted by green and sustainable products and processes. But to be honest, it's about green and sustainable chemistry also. And here you can see the link, if you wish, later, our mission, how to do it together, and the main like lines where it was in Brazil at the Federal University. And here it's Professor Chieta, the coordinator of this center, and I'm here. And together with some students, but just to say that it works. It's really interesting. Then in 2022, I moved to Germany after accepting the invitation to be a full professor here. So this is my way. You can see from São Carlos, I like to see the maps, and from like São Carlos to Lüneburg, that's very close to Hamburg. And so you are more than welcome to come to our university. It's very close to Hamburg. This is the picture of our main building here. You can see it's a very beautiful building, very modern, in a very traditional city that is super nice. And what we have, what is different? Actually, everything is connected to sustainability. And we have economy, education, cultural studies, and also sustainability. I am part of the School of Sustainability. We have more than 10,000 students and also some courses that are more connected to chemistry. And the one that I'd like to emphasize, it's like the model green chemistry. We have some case studies based on the Eaton tournament, analyzing the LCA from plant-based meat analogs, And also another one that is the plasticized childhood, how to use plastics to construct healthier or greener or more sustainable toys. And then we have a new master course that I'm the coordinator, Resources, Materials, and Chemistry, starting next year. Here is the link or the webpage if you'd like to visit the webpage. We are more than welcome. So this is quite new, and this is the case study that we are discussing, and the let's say the number of ingredients we are working with. Like this is an example coming from Brazil, but we found methyl cellulose in this type of hamburger. It's not a problem, but it depends the amount that we have, and also how to produce and how to extract the soy protein. It can be problematic. We can use XIII, that is a way to, or alkali aqueous conditions at a very high temperature. So it's not about the end, the final product, but it's how to arrive there. And so we have many questions when we are discussing this case, and if could plant-based burgers be a healthier option in terms of eating or more sustainable also. And the second example, it's about the plasticized childhood. It's very interesting. It was a very interesting study, and you can access just seeing this QR code. And what we could see that we have a lot of plastic. That's not bad, but the type and the way and how the consumerism it's related to toys also can be problematic in some cases. And here we have, one example. It was, this case was studied together with Alana. It's an institution in Brazil. And we also considered the Happy Meal as another example to see if it's possible to recycle, if this type of toy is recycled actually or not. So it's about that. If you wish, you can have a look on this paper about how we can define greener, healthier, and more sustainable toys. And I think it's really nice. It was published in October, like now. And as perspectives, what I could say, well, coming from this field of green and sustainable chemistry, and when we think about regeneration, we can see that we need to face or to identify, not only to remediate, but it's possible also using such approach. But the most important is to prevent problems. And we have to see that all these crises are connected, and then we can create, in our case here, a more diverse, resilient, safer, and healthier products and process for sustainable food systems. So as I mentioned, food, it's not only the material, but it's also a symbolic construct. And we can create identities, especially when we think about ethical goals. If we have to eat less like meat or no meat at all, how we can improve our diet just based on plants. We have to assess the ingredients that we have, and also the processing that is related to food healthiness and sustainability. We have to identify hotspots and design processes for optimal use of the materials, and also to recover what is possible. We have to think about keeping the molecular complexity to a minimum for a specific, as I mentioned, chemical service, because a molecule is about also a service. And we have to think about maintaining all processes and food products as simple as possible to avoid losses and the rebounding effects, and ensuring traceability. It's important to know from where this food is coming, how it was produced, to prevent unnecessary chemical complication of such products, and to construct a better society. I think this is the main message, and here are some publications, how we have to consider circular economy in the scope of chemistry, how we can construct more sustainable curricula, In this case, it's for universities, but we can extrapolate this also for other contexts. And about plastic, how we can improve a circular polymeric economy and take into account this. And this paper was selected to be the cover. And this beautiful cover, it's about a Fellini's movie, La Nave Va. So it's about to be lost in a plastic ocean. And another example is how to rethink waste, chemical waste especially, using the concept of sustainable chemistry and artificial intelligence. And there are many examples how we can prevent problems when we are thinking about editing some wood to produce less lignin. And another publication, it's about the one that I mentioned, it's about sustainable chemistry. What is that? And here, regarding us, how to change these food systems that are not, let's say, sustainable. And the paper about regeneration that I think it's really interesting. And last but not least, it's about digitalization, how we can integrate digitalization to promote green and sustainable chemistry. So these are some examples, and I am more than happy to say thank you to my collaborators, the students, and the friends, colleagues. And here you can see some also from industry and from many sectors. And thank you also for your attention. And yeah, and I'm very happy to talk to you and also to dialogue. And if you would like to contact me, here is my email. And thank you again, especially Ronggong Lin, yeah, for your kind invitation. Good, so I will stop to share my screen, if it's the case here. And
thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Zhuin. And thank you very much for this very interesting and inspiring presentation. I guess now we open for questions. So if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself and speak. Or you can type your question in the chat box. So,
yes, hi. I have a question. I'm Aynur Güneng. Thank you very much for the presentation. I really enjoyed. I'm working with a group of researchers at Carleton University in Ottawa, and we are very close interest and the research focus we have. So our focus is also upcycling agri-food byproducts. So my question will be, what is the challenges you had as an experience when you are producing, or in a practical way, what is the most difficult challenge you can tell for sustainable producing, like ingredients, or what is the real challenge you have? That will be great to listen. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for your very important question. And I would say that, to be very frank, it's not about the technical issues. It's about how to involve people. It's not about to convince people, but how to create the conditions to promote such, let's say, processes, or greener or more sustainable processes, and also to have better products. Because what I could notice that in some cases, the companies told me, "Oh, it's so nice, like it's a wonderful idea, but it costs a lot." Maybe the long term will be, I think, more expensive, because to consider what they are doing, they are thinking in a very short term. But when we can see the future, we can see that it's not about the current costs. It's more than that. So I would say that the most important is to be able to dialogue with people who could be the stakeholders, or because it was also so beautiful to see that. We went to a farm later on to the plant. I mean, the plant is the processing plant. And a technician told me, may I tell you something very shy? And this was the most important information we received during the project. Yeah, coming from a technician. And sometimes we are pretending that we know a lot. And no, I think we have to be open to all people involved, like in a farm or in a like in a plant or coming from industry also. So we have to be very conscious about the role of a good communication and how to construct together a project, implemented the project also. I would say that this is the most, and also the geopolitics is also important, because in some cases it's really difficult to implement, if like green or sustainable products are not the priority for a certain, it's about wishes, it's about desires, it's about markets. But I think in the future it would be impossible to ignore sustainability. It will be impossible for all. Thank you for
so
your
much.
question.
Okay, thank you.
Professor Zuen, you touched base on digitalization and AI, and as we see that this year's Nobel Prize in Physics and Chemistry both go to AI, I guess there will be, as we already seen, the bigger wave of innovation in AI and machine learning. So I think there will be definitely an integration of AI machine learning and with the sustainability chemistry. And so my question, what's your vision of this field?
Thank you for your question. I have some colleagues from this field, like digitalization, and I had very nice conversations with them. And this is the future. It's a turning point, and it was a very good question also for chemistry, but the Nobel Prize for Physics, in some extent, it's also connected to digitalization. And so it's a trend, and we can like it or not, but we have to know about that. We have to be informed. We have to educate people also for this like reality. And for this paper that I wrote about digitalization for chemistry, what I could see, we don't have enough people yet. I don't like the term trained, but in the field that are like enough to teach all people or all students in chemistry. So we have to have more people involved in digitalization for chemistry. It's a process, of course, but I think there is in some cases that is normal. Also, there is a like resistance against, no, this is like a trend. But in fact, we need more people doing that. We need more knowledge about that. And we need to be careful also about the limits and when it's working or not, for what kind of purpose. And it's about databases, how to create the banks, like for information, to collect what is necessary also. So it's a very good question. And I think for chemistry, this is also the future. We have to educate more like chemists for this new reality. And now we don't have enough people yet, but it will be. I know that because I'm coordinating this new master program, and we are also including digitalization. And I can tell you, it's like interesting. It's very interesting. Thank you for the question. It's true, it's the future.
All right, thank you. I guess we have time for one more question. Any question from the audience? Okay, so I can agree with you more about the, you mentioned about the systems thinking and those principles of sample prep and also the regenerative. So I work in industry, not in academia, and I have many colleagues here with us today here. So what's the takeaway like point? If it's one point you should we should take from this presentation for those working in the industry.
Yeah, I like to think that actually we are together, academia and industry or companies. We have to be closer, because sometimes academia it's very like immersed in the own issues, like how to teach, that's important, of course, to do this philosophical exercise. It's also important, but we have to have the reality, and we can combine both, working together. I learned a lot with colleagues from other sectors, including companies, and I can tell you the time is different. When we have a project 2 years, it's a lot. For a company, we have some students coming from industry also, and we have to solve the problem in 6 months. So it's about time. It's about to be more pragmatic also. But I would say but it's important to work together, to see that we are sharing the same issues, problems. And I think sustainability, we can put green or sustainable chemistry as a term, but it's about the future. And to do properly, we have to do it together, and we have to collaborate more, because this is a must for the future, to collaborate more. And sometimes we are so busy that we are not seeing that we have to be closer, and maybe to do less, to do more and better. I don't know if I'm clear on that, but as an educator also, I think from chemistry, I think it's important to connect these dots. So we are not separated, but instead we are together, and we have to be together.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. And
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining today's lecture, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.